The concept of the Ponzi scheme was the brainchild of Charles Ponzi. He promised clients a 50% profit within 45 days or a 100% profit within 90 days by buying discounted postal reply coupons in other countries and then redeeming them at face value in the US as a form of arbitrage. However, in reality, Ponzi was paying earlier investors using the investments of later investors, not with any form of profit from the business. Thousands of people would go on to defraud millions more with this same scheme. You may even know a few people who have been sucked into a Bitcoin scam or even a multi-level marketing scheme, the modern-day equivalent of Ponzi's namesake, except with tangible goods. Now, aside from that, have you ever had your credit card skimmed or stolen? Yeah, I know, that was a rough transition, but our friend George Santos has allegedly committed so many crimes like Ponzi schemes and identity theft that it's hard to transition between them. So let's get into all of the crimes against our favorite congressman, congressperson actually, tonight on I Do Not Trust This Person, The Many Lies of George Santos. Do you have any nicknames, or did you, I've got my own nicknames for you, but like growing up, did you have any nicknames that ever stuck? Like, I know I've heard Alama before, but that's...
No, why? You're bringing up a very sensitive topic.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. I guess, yeah, we all had mean nicknames that we were called for sure.
No, I never had a nickname.
Oh, really? Oh, so you're upset you never had a nickname. I mean,
No.
we called you Brazilianaire the first time we met you, but that was more of a drunk thing.
No, but like in school.
Oh, like nobody, yeah.
No. When I was in 8th grade, 7th grade, was that when? I had a few people who tried to get Lainey.
Lainey? Oh, gosh, no.
To catch on.
No.
But it never did.
Lainey? No offense to anybody named Lainey, but not for Alana.
No.
It just doesn't fit.
No, not at all. That was it.
That's
it. That's
Gosh.
it. But like, what nicknames would you give?
A person with a name of Alana? Yeah. I mean, your name's pretty unique.
Options.
I've only known you as a interpersonal as an Alana. I've met one other in my life that's spelled your way, and like a few other randos like Alana Glazer and shit like that. But
like later in life, people. And I don't remember who first said Alama. I think it was my friend in high school, Amanda. Mm-hmm. So, but that wasn't really a nickname. It was just kind of a funny.
Yeah, I mean, an obvious joke too. Like, what animal are you? Well, obviously a llama. Like,
and that's it. Yeah, I always wanted a nickname because, everybody had. I feel like a nickname is a sign of intimacy between friends. Like there's something kind of cool about it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, your friends call you this. But yeah.
Unless your nicknames are just like, hey, stupid or whatnot. I'm just, that was the weakest one I could come up with because I was called much worse and more non-PC things you can say these days. But should have said back then either.
It's funny that you say that because my sister had a nickname all through high school and college that everybody knew her by. But she stopped going by that name like after she graduated college. Mm-hmm. She goes by her full name again.
Sure.
And so now I guess someone that she knows just ran into someone that she knew from high school who referred to her by the nickname that she had in high school. And so she was able to identify like, oh, that's a person who knew me in high school, if that's what they're calling me.
Yeah.
Because, that was like her nickname then.
Yeah.
So, which is kind of cool. But yeah, no, at the very short answer to your question is no.
But the long answer was all of what you just said.
Was all of that, yes.
Yeah, I have a waffle butt, which I'm not that fond of. I was
anymore. I'm sure you were at some point.
Not really. It was more of a going along with it. But also I have my music moniker, Timmy Two Step, was given to me by people in Kansas when I lived up there. Of all things, like they asked me if I wore boots to school, like cowboy boots, because the pair I have are comfortable, and they were the warmest thing I had because it was like 3 feet of snow in Lawrence when I went there.
Oh God, Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas sucks.
In winter.
Yeah, it's the absolute worst.
Horrible.
Horrible place. But I wore boots and they're like, did you ride horses to school when you lived in Texas? I'm like, no. Like, do you know how to two-step? I said, no. I'm like, well, your name's Timmy Two-Step now. And then it just stayed with me. And it's a pretty lazy moniker, I think. But
it's like, it kind of sounds nice. Like Timmy Two-Step has a really good ring to it.
Yeah, that's kind of probably why I went to it.
You don't two-step.
No, not whatsoever. I
and
actually
you're not
don't know
a country artist and
Not
nothing
whatsoever.
to do with any of that. So it's not the best name in terms of describing.
No,
what
it's actually
you
kind of
do.
a bad name for an emo musician.
But it is a great, just like phonetically, it sounds good.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, side note, Kansas.
Oh, Kansas sucks.
In winter.
It sucks.
The day that we were there, that we had driven, because we were staying in Kansas City.
Yeah, we're staying in Kansas City.
And we drove an hour and a half
to the
out
middle,
to the middle
of
of
nowhere.
So we were driving back and we made it back into Kansas City. And I think it was like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And
no, like 2 in the morning.
No.
Wait.
No, we were going to go get pizza, remember? There was it had to be like 9 o'clock at night or something.
Okay,
there was a pizza place that was still
felt
open.
like it was in the middle of eternity.
Yeah, it was pitch black. And I have only ever lived really in Texas or warmer places.
Sure. You're not used to 14 degrees.
I lived in England for a while, but England doesn't get that cold.
Yeah.
But
doesn't get down to 14 or whatever Celsius.
No,
not Celsius,
not to my memory. Not that cold, I don't think. England, I think, is more like Portland, where it's rainy,
wetter,
it's kind of mild.
Sure.
Because it's surrounded by water on all sides, so it kind of moderates.
Versus Kansas, it's all plains.
Yeah, versus Kansas, which is continental climate, so it's just so cold. Anyway, we got back, and it was...
Again,
was it like what, 7 degrees? Fahrenheit?
It was 14 when we got back. It was 7 when we went to the airport the next
14?
day. Yeah, it was.
Okay, well,
we walked around the building.
I didn't know what 14 degrees was, so we thought we would go walk to the pizza place. And being from Texas, we did not have the appropriate winter gear.
We're still in our like wedding clothes.
Yeah, and like maybe a jacket. I mean, we probably had like a puffy jacket, but again, it's Texas jackets that
14 degree
so
day
I think
after
we
tomorrow
made it
kind
like
of gear that
half
we need.
A block, maybe one.
We made it once around the square block of the building, and we were like, no. I think we made it behind the building. And we're like, we can't do this, and we we just came back.
Horrible.
Like it'll take us just as long to get back if we go straight than not. Yeah,
we just turned it back around. Horrible. Yeah, so
and then 14, the pizza sucked. Oh man, it was pure it's like they dumped raw garlic all over it.
Well, that was our fault. We ordered it with garlic because we love garlic on our pizza.
Sure.
Especially a roasted whole clove of garlic. Yeah. But they did like very finely chopped raw. You know what? It's almost
garlic.
like they did. You know that pre-chopped garlic you can get in jars at the grocery store?
Stuff that goes rancid really fast, by the way. Don't buy that.
It's almost like they just dumped that all over the pizza.
Yeah, that was gross.
But at that point, I think it was like 10, 11 o'clock at night. We were just so tired.
Yeah, it was whatever.
I don't even think we ate that much of it.
I barely ate any of it.
But that loft we stayed in, that Airbnb loft
was awesome.
In Kansas City was cool.
Yeah. Now, see, that was a real story about real human beings.
Yes, it was. That happened.
Versus fake stories about this fake human being.
Yes.
Who was once called
George.
We're
here to talk about George Santos.
Or, as far as the nicknames are concerned, George Scamtos, which is what people around him had apparently been calling him. I didn't just make that up. That was apparently a nickname that people around him that knew all of these things we're about to talk about called him behind his back. Also, just a few dumb facts that I wrote at the top here. We're discussing his scams. You heard at the top of the show the whole bit about Ponzi and what those kinds of scams are, and that we're going to be talking about all of these actual Ponzi schemes that he had ran. And all to keep up status. Like that's what the crux
Everything
of George Santos
status.
It is. Then that's actually what the charges talk about, that he wanted to seem rich to Republicans, so he would come off like affluent and as part of like their club, and which is kind of ironic. Like, which I'll get to the irony of that. Well, later. No, right now. Why not? Like, it's ironic that he ran on this, I'm a rich guy, I'm a 100 millionaire, whatever, when his real life would have just
like made a better story. Like he was a guy who had a mother who was a housekeeper. He lived in a house in Brazil that's like zoned for 4 people to live in. Like he is technically a rags to not really riches, but a little bit of riches.
But
like
still, like,
he did make money. Like he's not poor.
And that's one of the things that
like,
the article,
New York Times
we read that
article,
New York Times article that came out, I think yesterday or the day before, whenever this is being.
The lady that had been, her and another person had been covering George Santos for a while.
And he called her.
And he straight up called her. Very great article.
Great article in the New York Times. But she talked about that, about how, his life story is one really of kind of persistence.
Yeah.
Obviously with a lot of lies to the point
and
scams.
Scams.
I genuinely don't even think he knows that he's lying anymore.
It's, well, to their point, what I think one of, I had watched something else on him earlier, that it's like Wile E. Coyote, that he's just keeping. Is that in the article?
Yeah.
Okay, I watched a bunch of George Santos stuff today, prepping for all of this because so much came out. That's why we're here now. Just side note, because one, we got a good feeling that all of this was about to start going down, and we were about to find out more about George Santos because, well, we'll get to it. His treasurer just pled guilty to scams, and so. That happened, and not to mention we wanted the last episode to come out on the year anniversary of him getting elected, so we just kind of spanned it out. So that's a bit of behind the scenes for you. But in general, he wanted to keep up this whole facade when his regular life would have just sufficed. And the person that brought up that how it's ironic quote was a person that George Santos told that he was worth $100 million, like some guy investment dude that he had known.
But yeah, going back to what you said, his story as it exists is just as compelling. Like someone coming up from poverty in Brazil, coming to America as, an immigrant, blah, blah, blah. Like,
his mom had a gambling problem and everything. Like he had a rough life growing up. Like, and I get like why he wanted to like change his, existence in this, but he just went so far into the keeping up with the Joneses or the DeVolders, I guess, in this situation, like that. It just, he Wile E. Coyote, he ran. As long as you keep on running, you won't fall. But then he looked down, and now he's falling. Like one of the things of the keeping up with the Joneses style thing is he used to tell people that he's a preferred buyer at Hermes, and which is a very, very expensive jewelry store that I think have to pay to even get into.
It's not jewelry.
But what is it? I thought Hermes was jewelry.
They have some jewelry, but they're mostly known for their scarves and their
things that he might steal.
Bags.
So keep your scarves on lock because he stole a Burberry one. He says he didn't, but
he says he didn't do any of these. He says he didn't do anything that he did, and he did everything that he didn't do. Yeah, exactly.
Like a person like close to him with his dog charity referred to him as the Tinder swindler,
or the
Tindler. Who knows? But the Tinder swindler is a guy who catfished a whole bunch of people to keep up his lavish lifestyle and said he needed money to escape his enemies. So yeah, that kind of tracks as George Santos. And are we sure that George Santos wasn't the Tinder swindler? Who knows? And then there was one other about him, and I'm leading up to him just conning on a very lower level, just to friends, all the way up to the biggest things that he's actually being charged with.
And let me say that I don't know about any of this because all the previous episodes, I feel like the lies have been pretty straightforward-ish.
Sure, yeah, they're general lies, fibs, dumb things to lie about.
So that I've been able to kind of catch on during the episode, or maybe read a little bit before the episode and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. This one, I have been, all of this money stuff is so convoluted.
Yeah. And we're not news, so don't come to us for news.
No,
we are trying our best again.
It's impossible to keep this shit straight.
Like the New York Times did. So kudos to them and all their research they did for us.
If you want like a true factual timeline of everything, the New York Times has done a fantastic job.
Not associated with them, love them. They are not failing. They're doing rather well. They don't need me to say that for them. But no, you
also have other opinions about the New York Times.
I do have other opinions about the New York Times. I'm not the biggest fan man myself, but they're fine. They do good work. A lot of good reporters do a lot of good work. Anyways, one of the people, again, lower level scams on folks, this time being a friend, a high school friend, or I think maybe a middle school friend. I don't remember. She is now a lawyer, and he ran into her at a gas station or a convenience store or something after she had just won her first case, or at least a big case. And he said, "Oh, let me take you and your client out to dinner." So he did at this very nice restaurant, proceeds to pitch the client on a $300 principal investment, but he's not allowed to say what it's for. He declined to invest, and this ended up being one of the Ponzi schemes that we're going to mention. I don't know which Ponzi scheme it was. They weren't really clear on that, but it's involved in a lot of this crazy, just absolute craziness. So the next part, we're going on a lower level, back in Brazil. Let's go back home to Brazil for a second, where he stole his mom's checkbook, his mom's checkbook. Check fraud? Yes. The checkbook belonged to, a former patient of his mother. I'm sorry. And wrote a bunch of checks and said that he messed up and vowed to pay the money back, but he never did. And then there was, he also met a woman at a bingo parlor, ended up becoming friends with her, stole some money, bought a bunch of stuff, and even pawned jewelry. And then, he got away with that until people saw him on the news as, not Anthony DeVolder, as George Santos running for Congress. And that's when that check fraud thing came back to light. We mentioned that, I think, in the Grab Bag episode when we were talking about his crazy lawyer who was the getaway driver of an assassination. So that's great. So now we're getting into more of the things that he was actually charged with. This thing right here is, most of it is the campaign finance. It's white collar crime. Every Republican in the world yells that we need to loosen the campaign finance laws, yada, yada, yada. But this, I don't think are the campaign finance laws that they're talking about loosening. He said that he had family members that donated to his campaign, and when asked, none of them did. At least his sister didn't admit to donating $2,900 to his campaign when she herself, as of the writing of the Mother Jones article I'm quoting, was about to be evicted and was not making very much money. They even went to one of his family members that lives in Queens, said that they had contributed $5,800, and that person said, "I am dumbfounded. I have no, this is all news to me. I don't have any of that kind of money to throw around." So that is a outright crime, because you are basically saying you're donating under somebody else's name. Is that how it goes? Under federal finance law, it's illegal to make a contribution using a false name or the name of someone else. It's called contribution in the name of another. So
this is where kind of his
scheming starts. Well, not really scheming. Oh, actually, I skipped one.
His treasurer comes from.
Yeah, this
kind of gets involved in this, and he, in the article that we read today in the New York Times, is conveniently blaming her for everything, saying that he.
Oh, is he?
Claiming that he, was hands off and didn't have involvement and blah blah blah.
She pled guilty to her and another unnamed co-conspirator. The reason he's being charged is because of that stuff that she just pled guilty to. And I'm willing to bet the FBI has the evidence on that. They don't just charge you for no reason. Well, that's a that's a loaded thing to say.
One of the things that he's being indicted for is falsely inflating the fundraising numbers with all of that. Yep. And it was so that they could hit a $250,000 benchmark that would qualify the campaign for a program run by a Republican Party committee.
Yep. Yeah.
So it was to help him get more campaign support.
Exactly.
And that's why they lied.
Yeah. He was basically, they were making the money, then they started to fall short, and then they inflated the numbers. One other thing I failed to mention, I should have led up to this before the campaign because it's a lesser crime as well. He has been implicated in a credit card skimming thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where he lied to a judge about working for Goldman Sachs. He was defending a person who had been arrested for being seen on camera pulling a skimmer out of a Chase bank machine. And he then, went to court to help defend him by testifying for him. But apparently George went to the guy in jail and threatened him not to implicate George in this. And the guy kept quiet because he had family in Orlando and he was afraid they might get deported because George knows people in the government, quote unquote. Damn. So then he finally came forward and is working. He's one of the people that's been working with, I believe it might be the Washington State Police, or maybe it's just Washington, D.C. He said Seattle, so it has to be Washington State. I don't have that right here handy, but they had said that this is all just the tip of the iceberg as far as the scheme was. So George has got more coming to him from not just campaign finance, check fraud in Brazil, all this other stuff. And then again, his treasurer admitting to all of this, implicating him in inflating all of his numbers, which he did. He did. I feel like we don't even have to say alleged on that one, but just in case, he allegedly did. So real quick, here are the charges that have been added on to him. It's called a superseding indictment that these basically replace the other ones that he had already been in, I believe is how this goes.
I don't think they replace, they add to.
Or they add to, or they're just so much, I thought they were so much worse than the other ones that they kind of replace it. That's probably not the case. I'm not a lawyer, so don't trust me on that.
It says the new accusations were made in a 23-count superseding indictment.
Yeah,
so
superseding indictment.
It added 10 charges from the previous indictment. So now this is the new indictment.
Oh, wait, the first one was 13. These are 10 more. Okay, that makes more sense.
So 23 counts, but the 10 counts are the new ones.
Yeah, conspiracy to commit offenses against the United States, wire fraud, aggravated identity theft, which that one is the craziest one to me. Access device fraud. What the hell is that? False statements to the Federal Election Commission, and then falsifying records to obstruct the Federal Election Commission. So the aggravated identity theft, that is like
anything with the word aggravated in it doesn't sound
that
good.
Caught my eye bigliest. Why not? It's just because this one was like, how did you not think you were going to get caught here? Because there's one thing I know about rich people. They're rich because they're either were given a bunch of money like Elon, or they keep track of everything that is run on their cards. He ran somebody's card number, stole a donor's card number, and transferred more than $11,000 to his own account and $50,000 from two other donors using a fake nonprofit. This is all according to the FBI. So and also the New York Times, who reported this. Thanks again, the New York Times. He also said he faked being wealthy to impress the Republican leaders by inflating his fictitious campaign loan. That was $500,000. I think that's the one that Nancy, whatever her name is, his treasurer is just got.
Yeah, but this is the best part
for.
of that is that according to prosecutors, Mr. Santos at the time had less than $8,000 in his personal and business bank accounts.
Yeah, he was poor as shit. And I was just like, I can't believe that.
The craziest thing about all of this is he has to be caught at this point, right?
He says he's not. He is so adamantly to the point where I almost believe him. When he says no, this is I'm ready to defend myself, blah blah blah. I'm like, man, are you that delusional, or are you innocent? And is this one big misunderstanding? I don't think it is. It's definitely not. I'm adamantly on the side of this man's guilty.
It's is this like a bodies situation?
Right. Yeah, spoiler alert for that, but yeah, maybe not.
Big misunderstanding?
Big misunderstanding.
I don't know. Reading all of this, it seems damning beyond a doubt.
Yeah, especially when it's the money. Always follow the money. They have him dead to rights on paper. Not to mention that he lied to Congress. That alone is a big old crime.
Well, and I can't remember which one of the charges that he is faced with carries a minimum 2-year sentence.
Oh wow!
So
that's a lot. I think he's going to go for at least 2 years, or he's going to have an ankle bracelet on for 5 maybe, and have to stay in New York's 3rd the rest of his life, having his house egged. I don't know if we've made that joke on this show already, but that is just a fantasy I have of him actually getting charged with some of this stuff. He also, somebody identified as contributor number 12 in the like court stuff, whatever, court papers. He like with $15,800 was given to George's campaign from this person who did not do that. He did not donate that money. Whoever they are did not donate that money. And an additional $44,000 of that was routed through the DeVolder organization.
Mm-hmm.
Like these numbers just keep going of him stealing and stealing and stealing. Like he stole hundreds of thousands, if not over $1 million+ from all of these donors, like put them through PACs, like $50,000, claimed that, was in a super PAC, and then he pocketed the money and used it for personal expenses.
Oh wait, there's that other one. This is completely unrelated to money, but just
which one?
So funny because I read it today in the article of the New York Times where he claims that his niece was kidnapped.
Oh my gosh, by the Chinese Communist Party.
Because of comments that he had made. And not only did the Chinese Communist Party have nothing to do with it, officials say that no kidnapping ever occurred, period.
Mm-hmm. And to lean on the side of he made it up.
So
wow.
Just, I mean, I think he is just so deep in like...
Mm-hmm. I mean, he did 24,000, or he applied for 24,000 in pandemic funds. I think we've mentioned on the show before, when he was employed. Like he and many, many other people did the same thing. Like, I mean, many Republicans, many millionaires, billionaires all applied for COVID relief. But he also
pathological liar.
I mean, not to diagnose from this end, but it does seem that way. Like I can't get it out of my head. He also claimed that he facilitated the the sale of a yacht between two of his donors, and that piqued the Fed's interest in him back in, was it 2019 or is it? I just read that it's just 19 million. It was a few years ago, 2022. It looks like, yeah, two of his donors. He said that he was what did he say that he does? He's just a broker where he would start calling his Rolodex of people and say, hey, do you need a boat? Do you need a yacht? I can sell you. I've got somebody that wants to sell one. And his brokerage fee was like $400,000. That's not an illegal thing. People do that. But whether he did it or not, and whether there was no, weirdness with funneling campaign money, likely took place. That's why he's been charged with all this stuff. So the feds can all find out. But yeah, that's kind of all of it for that I have as far as those crimes are concerned, because I mean, it's all the campaign finance, and then saying that he, had $500,000 in his bank account. I don't have the
well, no, he said that he made a $500,000 donation.
No, I mean for when he lied to Congress is what I was about to say. Like, he had all of his inflated his wealth and everything. He had all of these different donations, and now his treasurer has finally admitted to this. He's trying to throw her under the bus. It's not going to work, it seems. And I mean, I think what the biggest thing that'll happen, if I'm speculating, which is irresponsible, but I live irresponsibly, responsibility. What's that? MXPX. You're welcome, everyone. But he, like I said, ankle bracelet, and he will be forced to either resign or not run anymore. That'll be part of a plea bargain that he may strike, but who knows?
Not me.
Not us. We don't know.
What I do know is that in a past episode, which I will have to go back and listen to, I think I made the argument that he is not a pathological liar.
But indeed, Donald Trump's son.
I still stick by that. But now I'm thinking that maybe he is a pathological liar.
Yeah.
Because reading that article that the New York Times put out where the reporter finally was able to talk to him, it's like talking to a person who has no sense of, he, like what you said, he thinks that he's innocent.
Yeah.
100%. He completely denies any wrongdoing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to be
crazy.
Completely, disconnected from reality.
Yeah. That, or he's just lying so hard because he knows he's caught. Like I don't know if I've mentioned it here before. I have a vision of a story. I guarantee you, I'm at least going to write a short treatment for a screenplay about a man like George Santos, who is just lying, and then gets into his limo and is having a full-blown panic attack because he doesn't know how to keep up with any of these lies. And that's how I imagine him on a daily basis. Like he's a baffling human being, and that's why I spent the past year researching this man, like, because it's so fascinating. But we'll end this one here. And then it'll come out on I think it was the 4th. It was it was the 4th as the year anniversary of when we elected when New York's 3rd. That was you guys.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't us. We elected Ted Cruz and John Cornyn and Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick and all those fun people. Not us personally. But Hell no. But yeah, we're going to get to the final episode next week. The truth about George Santos. Go over some of our favorite lies and end on what actually is true about this crazy some beach. And
which do we even know?
Some things. I mean, we know that he absolutely committed check fraud in Brazil because I think he admitted to that one. So
that one he did.
That one he did fully admit. And what's he going to do? Sue us? He doesn't have the time. All right. We'll see y'all on the 4th, I guess. Whatever. It's going to be like a Tuesday or something like that, or Wednesday.
He might sue us because he said, I'm just going to keep referring to this New York Times article that I read today. He said that he's having a hard time getting his story out because his name is not as buzzy in the news as it was back in January, February when all of this first broke. So now he's ready to talk to people about the truth and nobody really cares. So maybe we will catch the attention of George Santos.
And you know what, George Santos, I'll say this very much and very confidently. I would love to see the headline, George Santos sues low-level podcast for some sort of defamation. And I'll end right here. If you do want to do that and you do want to sue us, it's Shui Media. Just look us up. We're on the internet. It's easy to find.
We're on the internet?
We're on the internet, yeah. And I do have access to a lawyer that would terrify the absolute core out of you. One of Trump's lawyers, specifically.
I'll do one better.
One better than one of Trump's lawyers that I have access to, and I'm not even joking?
My message is this. George, come on our show.
Oh, that is better. George,
come talk to us.
I'm
from Brazil.
Yeah, I'm not.
Come talk to
a
fellow Brazilian about the truth.
Yeah, we would love to talk to you.
Tell your story.
Come talk to us, sue us. Both work in our favor. I do truly promise you that. I just can't name who it is. But that's all. Come on, George. George, do better. I always we keep ending with that. Just do better, man.
No, I'm past that.
I'm past that. No, it's impossible. You can't do better. All right, we're out. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to I Do Not Trust This Person, Season 1, The Many Lies of New York Representative George Santos. The show is hosted and produced by Alana Matos and Tim Philippi. The show is mixed and edited at Shui Media Studios in Austin, Texas. For a full list of news sources and music used in this episode, please refer to the show notes. I Do Not Trust This Person was created by Tim Philippi and is a production of Shui Media and America the Podcast Presents. For more information, please visit shuimedia.com. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.
Been a production of Shui Media, all rights reserved. For more information, please visit shuimedia.com.